Well, it's funny, actually. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't anything like Forever, anyway.
Right. Yeah. There was some breath coming out of people's mouths in that one for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Forever was pretty cold. This one wasn't too bad though, because we just had a little house and we kind of packed it full of heaters.
Right. Nice.
Yeah.
But other than that, it looks great. I like the black and white like kind of grayscale to it. It looks awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty different. I like it a lot.
Do you guys have a hand in doing the coming up with the ideas for the video, or is it kind of brought to you by friends?
The way we kind of handled the video is we came in contact with Karen and Michelle Miola, and she expressed interest in doing the video. We sent her the song, and she loved it, and she kind of came up with a concept. We had the confidence in her that allowed us to just give her creative freedom.
Nice.
I think as artists, we understand kind of what it means to be an artist and to want that creative freedom.
Okay.
And to understand how sometimes restrictions can hamper your work. So we figured that we would get the best result out of her if we just kind of let her run wild with it.
Right. Very nice.
Yeah, so in those terms, we really didn't interfere. We actually let her come up with the concept. We talked about it. We agreed with it. We liked it. So, we just kind of let her go crazy.
Very nice. It's not often that you get that kind of, as an artist, I don't think it's often that you get that kind of respect from a band. No,
and based on, kind of what she said, it appears that she doesn't get that experience very often.
Yeah.
Most times, when she's dealing with labels, there is rigorous control that she's contending with.
Yeah, no doubt. As we're speaking, today's the 7th, so just over 11 days away for the CD to come out.
Yeah.
Exciting?
It is. I kind of feel like, it's almost, it's at the point where it's been so long now that I almost won't even believe it until it happens.
I understand. Now, you actually did release the album independently. You guys released it on your own once already, but then now correct me if I'm wrong on this. You got signed to Spread the Metal Records, and you went back in and re-recorded the album. Yeah,
the way it happened was we had finished the album. Yeah, it was completely 100% independently done, and we were on the verge of releasing it. And then when Spread the Metal kind of talked to us, and we decided that the best course of action would actually be to pull back the album, because we were then presented with the opportunity to, we're effectively given a bigger budget with it, and, he put us in touch with Sheldon Zarko at ZED Studios and got that ball rolling for us. So we felt like it was the right choice, because ultimately it resulted in a better album. But independently, it was not ever technically released. We had played a tour just kind of in Western Canada, and, we were selling CDs and stuff. So there are a few really lucky individuals who have, that probably, hopefully soon to be very rare edition of our first album.
Right.
Yeah, so, no, it was never released that way, but we felt like it was the right thing to do, because, all in all, it's a better album. We retracked it. Yurik still produced it, but we sent it off to ZED Studios for mixing and mastering this time.
Gotcha. Now, is it all the same songs? I know at one point there had been some talk about changing up some of the songs.
There was a little bit of a change up. In the period that we had in between the two versions, we actually did have time to sit down and write 2 new songs. We wrote a handful, but 2 that we really liked, and we decided to put them on. And in order to make room for them, we didn't want to extend the album too much, we ended up taking off 1 song that we kind of felt didn't really fit with the theme of the album anymore.
Okay. And what was the track that disappeared that may eventually show up again somewhere?
That was Crimson Rain, actually.
Okay.
We had released it online as a single.
Okay.
So people have heard it.
Right.
And that was almost kind of part of our deciding factor too, is because we thought, well, people have heard this song, so if it's not on the album, that's not a huge loss. It's not like, it's disappearing. So I'm sure there are still people who downloaded it and probably still really enjoy it. But
I'm sure
we just kind of felt it was very hard. It's almost like picking out of your kids. Which one do I not want anymore?
Right.
So that was just the one that got the cut.
Now, when you went in and did the new songs, retracked the songs, you had some guests who did some vocals with you as well. And were these people that you knew just from around, or were these people that you had kind of picked ahead of time and said, "Hey, can you add something to this track?"
Kind of varying experiences there.
Okay.
I think the first track that ended up getting the order of events is getting all blurred together in my head. Uric had contacted Pelike, just kind of over the internet, and Ivan Giannini. They were both participants in the Dragon Force auditions.
Okay.
They had both tried out, and from watching the audition tapes, Uric really liked their performances. Obviously, Pelike now has his own band, he has a solo band called Pelike and Damnation Angels. So he's gaining quite a bit of notoriety that way. And he ended up getting an entire song on our album. We kind of collaborated with him a little bit on that track, Set the World Aflame. And he did phenomenal work. Absolutely mind-blowing, to be totally honest.
Right.
Ivan Giannini kind of came about the same way. Uric saw his audition tapes and really enjoyed what he did. And so he did the duet on Demon with me. And as far as Ryan Bovaird goes, Hallows Die actually had come to Alberta and played a show in Grand Prairie. And now, before I had actually joined Edge of Attack, all the guys in the band had actually played a show with Hallows Die, and they were all, kind of getting buddy-buddy, and they were hanging out together. And, ultimately became really good friends. We kind of consider them like our Eastern cousins,
right.
if that makes any sense. So, we've stayed in contact, and, they're fairly successful, too, in their own sort of death metal career, what they have going on over in Ontario. And, he's got quite a voice too, in terms of his growling. It's very raw, and it's very, very rough almost, but it was pretty good. We really liked it. So we felt like when we had The Damned written, it was pretty heavy, and we kind of speculated as to whether or not it would fit, especially because we didn't have anybody in the band, where we felt that proficiency of growling was present.
Okay.
Uric does some of his own screaming and growling and stuff, but it's a totally different style. It's more of a pitched growl, and Ryan has that truly guttural, almost abyssal churning that happens. It's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, so he took part in that song, and it was just the result was, I think, the best thing that could have happened.
Very cool. Now, did you, when you retracked the albums, did you just take the existing performances that you had from the original recordings and clean them up, or did you actually have these people redo their parts as well?
For the guest tracks, we felt that it was more economical just to use their original work, right. And because it was already so good, we didn't really feel like it was, more or less worth, hey, calling up Ivan in Italy is where he's at.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, sorry to bug you again, but can you redo these tracks? And,
right.
Yeah, just due to the relationship there. I think if they had been our next door neighbors, it would have been another case.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know for myself, I re-recorded, probably 95% of it.
Wow.
I think the only song that we left some of the original tracks on was actually Forever.
Okay.
And that's only some, not even the whole song. But pretty well every other song just got completely redone.
Wow. Now, and redoing them, was that obviously it's a chore to try and get everything perfect, but did it seem easier for you the second time around, having had a little bit more time with the songs?
Absolutely. Well, I guess we kind of have an interesting technique when it comes to recording, because Eric likes to write and kind of record in the same swing, if that makes any sense. Like, he'll write something and, we'll work on it, and then, we'll say, well, let's record it right now just to see if it's going to work. There's no point in just, kind of rehearsing it and wondering how it's going to sound. At least we record it and get it out of the way, and then we know for sure. And then sometimes, as you're writing, things get scrapped a lot faster that way.
Right.
Or repurposed or changed, and that evolves in a fast evolution of the music. But yeah, I think that's usually what happens. And so the second time around, knowing the songs, I mean, with the exception of the two new ones, that's In Hell and In the Night, those obviously took a little bit longer. But yeah, re-recording the old ones was, it was a breeze. And we record everything in Eric's house, really. He's got his studio set up there. He's got like a little space for it. And so it is a very comfortable environment, and we just go in there, and, there's really very little preparation to be done. It's just when we feel like recording, we go down there and we do it, and then it's done.
That makes things a lot easier.
It is. Like, I think that we're very lucky in that a lot of bands, when they do need to record an album, they have to call a studio, they have to book time, they have to pay for the time, and they have to ensure that, whatever 2 days, 3 days is going to be enough to get everything polished, in the way that they want. Because, you're dealing with budgeting and stuff there.
Yeah, for sure. And even, especially in today's market, being a Canadian metal band, even being signed to a label, it's not like you're getting lush studio money and caviar and private jet money.
Yeah, you could say that. There's definitely none of that going on.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what's the post-release of the self-titled album? Is there a tour planned as of yet?
We are in the process of planning a Canadian tour.
Okay.
It's taking us a little bit to get it together. Mostly, just kind of going back and forth, and we're kind of working with Hallows Die on it too. Like, we want to get together with them when we head over to Ontario. So, we're trying to get a lot of people coordinated. But that is the plan, is to get something nailed down here in Canada before we go anywhere else.
Right. But there's definitely, I've noticed that there's been some hints that the band would love to do some international touring. Oh yeah,
that's our fullest intention anyway. Really, like, finances are going to be a restriction, and just kind of the capability of the people we're working with is going to be a restriction too. So we're constantly seeking new contacts and trying to get that kind of stuff worked out.
Gotcha. Now, for you personally, how did you come into singing metal?
Oh, well, singing metal is kind of, it's a strange monster. I had done singing before, not, in metal, but I got my start in interest with musical theater, of all things, which I guess is not a bad place to start. It's a really good way to develop your voice. And I had started, playing in bands and stuff when I was younger, like when I was in high school. And then I had kind of wanted to continue singing, but I did run into a lot of obstacles because I was unfamiliar with metal for the most part. And living in the area, it seemed like the only projects that I could find, were a couple guys starting a metal band. And, and I had a lot of preconceived notions about it too. I, assumed, well, they want death growlers, or they want somebody with a really abrasive, rough voice. Kind of like a Dave Mustaine type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But and now I was acquainted with Edge of Attack for quite a while, so I knew who they were and I knew what they were doing. But Eric was playing thrash metal with the guys at the time.
Okay.
And he kind of just called me up one day and said, "Hey, I'm working on some stuff. It's a new style. I really like the direction that we're going. Do you want to come over and do some tracks?" And, and this kind of came out of the blue. I hadn't really been singing in a while, but I was interested. I figured, hey, what's a new experience? So I went over there, and he gave me this song, and he said, "Hey, just sing this for me." And I did, and I guess things went over okay, because he called me up the next day and was like, "Hey, so do you want to be in the band?"
Nice.
And I was like, "Well," I hadn't even considered that. I kind of just thought, okay, I'm going to go over and just kind of do some stuff for fun. But yeah, and then that came up, and it became a real possibility. And I've never really been one to shy away from a new experience, so I jumped on board. Really, I thought about it for a few days, of course, because at the time I was a full-time student. I was studying psychology, and I was, pretty deep into that. And I thought, well, it probably won't take up too much time, but probably just enough time to make things, a little stiff. But I did it anyway, and lo and behold, things really took off. I ended up putting school on hold for a little while, just because, the time sensitivity of trying to capitalize on our popularity right now.
Right. Fair enough. And it's pretty amazing to go onto the Edge of Attack Facebook page and see the amount of likes the band has.
Yeah.
For a little band out of Grand Prairie.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, to be totally honest. Still kind of blows my mind.
Is school still on hold for you? Are you doing kind of like a reduced load at this point?
Well, I was going to, but it's pretty tough. And just with the sheer amount of what we're doing for the band right now, like, there's a lot of preparation and, just a lot of work we're putting into it. And, and that too, and I'm trying to work as much as I can right now.
Of course.
There's the prospect of going on tour, and, like you said, there aren't going to be any private jets or dishes of caviar waiting for me. So it's nice to have kind of some nest eggs saved up, so that if we do end up deciding to take off, for a few months, I'm not going to, be worried about it financially. So
right.
I think right now it's just kind of my priorities are in a different place, and school will always be there. So
this is very
I can
true.
always do that later.
Absolutely. Yeah. It sounds like some good things happening for Edge of Attack.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way.
Excellent. Very good to hear. Well, Roxanne, thanks so much for taking time to speak to me today. I know that
no
it's early for you. It's not very rock and roll to be calling somebody at 9 o'clock in the morning, but
oh, that's all right, man. I have my tea. I'm still wearing my pajamas, but it's all right. I'm doing all right.
Fair enough. Well, and really, do you get up and get dressed in your metal best for a phone interview? You don't need to do that.
It's funny. Like, I'd contemplated it. Thinking to myself, is this a persona? Do I have to put this on in order to, conduct an interview? Even though you can't see me or anything, at least,
right.
I do believe that there is a very strong relationship between how you look and how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think the pajamas are suiting me just fine right now.
Perfect. Well,
sure.
Once again, thanks so much for taking the time to speak to me today. I really appreciate it. And congratulations
no problem,
to you and the rest of the band on a fantastic record.